It is disheartening to acknowledge that, throughout history, there have been instances where individuals or groups have exploited disabled individuals for various reasons, including personal gain, entertainment, or misguided beliefs. These exploitative practices are deeply unethical and violate the fundamental rights and dignity of disabled individuals. While it is important to shed light on such instances to raise awareness and prevent future occurrences, it is equally crucial to focus on promoting inclusivity, equality, and respect for all individuals, regardless of their abilities. One unfortunate example of exploitation is the historical practice of freak shows or human curiosities. These shows involved exhibiting individuals with physical or cognitive disabilities as objects of curiosity and amusement. Disabled individuals were often portrayed as oddities or aberrations, and their conditions were exploited for profit. This exploitative entertainment persisted for centuries, but thankfully, societal attitudes have evolved, recognizing the harm and injustice in such practices. Deformed humans have frequently been considered as objects of interest and entertainment since at least the medieval era, and audiences have gathered to see them on display. A well-known early modern illustration was the display of the twin brothers Lazarus and Joannes Baptista Colloredo, who were born in Genoa, Italy, at the court of King Charles I. The underdeveloped body of Lazarus' brother hung from his chest, but otherwise he seemed average. Lazarus shielded his sibling with his cloak when he wasn't making a show of himself to avoid drawing attention. Freak shows were popular at taverns and fairgrounds, where the freaks were frequently mixed with talent shows in addition to exhibitions. For instance, in the 18th century, in both England and later in Ireland, Matthias Buckinger, a man born without lower legs or arms, amazed audiences with his astounding magic performances. The 19th century saw the maturation of freak shows as prosperous commercial operations in both the United States and Europe. Freak shows reached their peak of popularity in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. From the 1840s until the 1940s, people with unusual physical, mental, or behavioral traits were assembled for profit exhibitions. Although certain aberrations were stated and some were not, the exploitation of people for financial gain was regarded as a typical aspect of American culture. Freak shows were popular in amusement parks, circuses, penny museums, and vaudeville, and their allure contributed to their spread. The growing middle class in the United States, which profited from shorter work weeks and higher incomes, helped the amusement park industry prosper. The popularity of the freak show was partly affected by a change in American culture that led individuals to view leisure time as an essential and advantageous alternative to working. The promoters and showmen featured a variety of freaks. People who didn't seem white or who had a disability were frequently portrayed as members of other races and cultures. In order to draw viewers, these unknown races and crippled white people were promoted as being novel humanity. For instance, people with microcephaly, a disease associated with intellectual difficulties that is marked by a very small, pointed head and small overall structure, were referred to as atavistic specimens of an extinct race or as missing links in society. Dwarfs with hypopituitary tend to be finely proportioned and tall. Achondroplastic dwarfs were described as an exotic form because their heads and limbs tended to be out of proportion to their trunks. The exotic mode also defined those without arms, legs, or limbs as animal people, such as the snake man and the seal man. There were 4 different methods for creating and promoting freak shows. The oral spiel or lecture came first. The presentation of the persons or freaks was overseen by a professor or showman. The second was a printed promotion for the freak show, generally in the form of lengthy pamphlets, broadsides, or newspaper advertisements. The third step, which was intended to highlight the aspects of each artist that were deemed odd, included costume, dance, performance, and the space utilized to present the act. The last act was a collectible picture or drawing that spectators could take home that showed the troupe of freaks performing. Recordings of the showman's pitch, the lecturer's yarn, and the professor's inflated reports of what was seen during the show were included with the collectible printed keepsakes. Doctors who utilized medical terminology that many people did not understand, but which lent a sense of credibility to the proceedings, certified the exhibits. A particular style of thinking about gender, race, sexuality, ethnicity, and handicap became acceptable in the culture of freak shows. The freak show's appeal began to wane in the first 10 years of the 20th century. The downfall of the freak show as a form of entertainment was caused by shifting perspectives on physical disparities. As genetic mutations and diseases were scientifically identified as the causes of previously unexplained oddities, freaks were no longer viewed with horror or contempt. For these reasons, laws limiting freak shows were passed. For instance, Michigan law prohibits the exhibition of any deformed human being or human monstrosity except as used for scientific purposes. It said, "A physician or other person who exposes or exhibits any human being who is disabled or disfigured, except as used for scientific purposes before members of the medical profession or medical classes, is guilty of a misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment for not more than 90 days or a fine of not more than $500.0 or both." Beginning in the early 20th century, television and cinema started to quench viewers' demand for amusement. People no longer required to pay to see freaks because they could view the same kinds of actions and anomalies in the comfort of their own homes or a nice theater. The fall of the freak show was largely influenced by movies and television, but the expansion of disability rights was a more significant factor. Now, many believed that freak shows were improper and exploited the suffering of others. Despite being well paid, the 19th century freaks did not always have a high quality of life. Despite being seen as a venue for entertainment, freak shows also provided work for those who could promote, run, and participate in their attractions. In an era before welfare or workers' compensation, severely crippled people frequently discovered that performing for an audience was their sole means of support. Despite modern beliefs that it is unethical to exploit people with disabilities, working in an organized freak show was a somewhat respectable way to make a career in the 19th century. Many freak show performers were fortunate and gifted enough to make a living and live well through exhibitions. Some went on to become famous, commanding high prices and making far more than acrobats, novelty performers, and actresses. The exploitation of disabled individuals unfortunately still occurs in contemporary society, highlighting ongoing challenges in achieving full inclusion and equality. While progress has been made in advocating for the rights and well-being of disabled individuals, instances of exploitation and mistreatment persist, demanding continued attention and action. One form of exploitation that persists today is financial abuse. Disabled individuals may be targeted for their financial resources or perceived vulnerability. Unscrupulous individuals or organizations may take advantage of their limited capacity to manage finances, manipulate them into fraudulent schemes, or exert undue influence over their decisions. This type of exploitation can have devastating consequences for disabled individuals, jeopardizing their financial security and independence. Additionally, disabled individuals may face exploitation in employment settings. They may encounter discriminatory practices such as low wages, inadequate accommodations, or limited opportunities for career advancement. Some employers may exploit their disabilities to justify paying them less or subjecting them to unfavorable working conditions.
These exploitative practices not only undermine their economic well-being but also perpetuate social inequality and exclusion.
In the realm of caregiving, instances of abuse and neglect against disabled individuals have been reported. Caregivers entrusted with the well-being and support of disabled individuals may exploit their power dynamics by neglecting their needs, mistreating them physically or emotionally, or misappropriating their resources. These abusive actions compromise the safety, dignity, and quality of life of disabled individuals, highlighting the critical need for improved safeguards and oversight within caregiving systems. Another area where exploitation occurs is in online spaces. Disabled individuals may be subjected to cyberbullying, harassment, or deceptive practices. Exploitative individuals may take advantage of their disabilities for personal gain, manipulate them emotionally, or engage in online scams targeting vulnerable individuals. The virtual nature of these incidents can make it challenging to track and address such exploitation effectively. The exploitation of disabled children by their parents on social media is a deeply concerning phenomenon that has gained attention in recent years. While social media platforms have the potential to be a powerful tool for raising awareness and promoting understanding, some parents have exploited their disabled children by sharing their personal struggles and challenges solely for the purpose of gaining attention, likes, shares, or financial gain. Like Micah Stauffer, a YouTuber, and her husband James adopted a boy from China in 2017. They documented their journey extensively on their YouTube channel, sharing the adoption process, their son's initial adjustment period, and their experiences as a blended family. However, in May 2020, Micah Stauffer and her husband shocked their followers when they announced that they had made the decision to rehome their adopted son. The term rehome is often used to describe the process of transferring a child to another family.
The Stauffers face criticism for their decision,
with many accusing them of exploiting the adoption process for personal gain and using their adopted son as a prop for their social media content. The issue of parents exploiting their disabled children on TikTok is a disturbing phenomenon that has raised significant concerns within the online community. TikTok, as a popular social media platform, offers users the ability to share short videos with a wide audience. Unfortunately, some parents have used this platform to exploit their disabled children for personal gain, attention, or entertainment, often at the expense of their child's well-being. Instances of parents exploiting their disabled children on TikTok can take various forms. Some parents may create videos that highlight their child's disability in a sensationalized or degrading manner, using them as props for shock value or to attract attention. These videos may perpetuate harmful stereotypes or misconceptions about disability, objectifying the child and reducing them to a source of entertainment. Moreover, the motivation behind such exploitative content often revolves around gaining likes, shares, followers, or even financial incentives through brand sponsorships or endorsements. This prioritization of social media metrics and personal gain over the well-being and privacy of the child raises serious ethical concerns and showcases a lack of parental responsibility. It is crucial to recognize that disabled children deserve respect, autonomy, and privacy just like any other individual. Exploiting them for personal gain not only violates their rights but also perpetuates harmful stigmas surrounding disability. It undermines efforts to promote inclusivity, understanding, and empathy within society. Addressing the exploitation of disabled children on TikTok requires a collective effort. The platform itself must play a significant role in implementing stricter guidelines and policies to prevent the spread of exploitative content. Additionally, users and the online community at large have a responsibility to be critical consumers of content and to report any instances of exploitation they come across. Education and awareness about the ethical considerations surrounding the use of social media are also essential. Parents should be encouraged to reflect on their intentions and the potential impact their actions may have on their child's well-being. Supporting organizations and advocacy groups can provide resources, guidance, and education to help parents navigate the challenges of raising a disabled child in a responsible and respectful manner. Ultimately, the focus should be on promoting the rights and well-being of disabled children, ensuring that their voices are heard and their privacy is respected. By fostering a culture of inclusivity, empathy, and responsible online behavior, we can create a safer and more supportive environment for all individuals, regardless of their abilities.